Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 Black Ice, and of course we're playing with as Japan. Well, those of you who may have watched the last episode may remember that Germany has been very successful so far in a Barbarossa operation here. They have a fairly large pocket here that looks like they're going to maintain that. They've taken Stalingrad. We're helping out a little bit here. They've taken Moscow up. Well, that's Tula. Moscow up here. So it looks like they're going to continue to do well there. Still haven't taken, but looks, well, shall we say, within their grasp of getting Leningrad. Now, I'm not yet. I guess these guys here, Luftwaffe Field Division, these infantry divisions are anti-partisan duties. Why do we have a semi-motorized division way back here? I'll get the Luftwaffe Field Division because those probably aren't very good. But yeah, so we're not yet ready to go to war, and we're going to try to just be at war with the Soviets. But what we're going to do here is we're going to test the Soviets here. It's event Japanese provocations on our border. The Soviet Union activates border provocations at Japanese border. So okay, so let's do this. Yes, that's better than wasting panzers on anti-partisan duties. Now that you say that, I'm going to look to see if we have any partisans on, or panzers on anti-partisan duties. Nope, doesn't look like it. And that's another thing. Why do we have a mountain division here in the forests instead of in some mountain areas or something? I don't know. The fall of Leningrad. Well, very good. So that meets my basic requirements for wanting to jump into this. Okay, here we are. Let's slow this down a little bit so that we can keep up with some human micromanagement. Yeah, don't want to overstress the supply system. And that is why I sent these guys here to be ready to help here. Well, let's put them on a train. Ah, hello, Soviet Stork. Okay, no, I don't think Japan ever thought they could directly rule or had any intention of directly ruling China. I think there's ideological reasons why they didn't think they could, and I think there's practical reasons, because you can often look at what they do and then expand upon it. So we can look at Manchukuo as a good example. There were a few higher ups in the Manchukuo government that were really vehement royalist Manchukuoan patriots that were, I say that, I don't know if they were really they were Manchurian or Manchu imperial patriots that wanted to restore the Manchurian emperor to China, not just up in Manchuria. And then there were others that were sort of more happy with a semi-puppet government within the sort of system, and they were sort of Manchukuo or Manchurian or whatever. Because Manchukuo is simply the Japanese word for Manchurian. Manchurian is at least the most common English word for it. I don't know what or how the Chinese... and I don't even know if they really intended to take the coastal areas. I think they wanted to rule through puppet governments. I really think they did. Yes, Korea, Formosa, Taiwan, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, those they want a direct rulership. I could even maybe just for strategic reasons, Hainan down here, take that kind of thing as direct Japanese rule. But policies could have changed. There was lots of various economic problems in Japan, and some of them were dealing with population levels and such. They were trying to get a certain amount of Japanese colonists to go to Manchuria, but I don't see them ever seeing it as being culturally dominant. As to the Garrison Division, that's a good idea. So let's grab these. And since... And these are all very weak. Very, very weak. No good for fighting anywhere, really. Okay, that's 32. That's too many for effective generalship, so, we may... War hero, bad general. Well, we don't need to quite put him under a bad general. Okay, so we'll put him under him. So a little too many. Hello, Lord. What is it? Elendil? Elendil? Sorry, I'm butchering that. So we've got a lot. These divisions here are really weak anti-partisan fighting units. Though we're no longer being affected by partisans, so I don't know if I'm going to convert them into these somewhat stronger island garrison divisions. And we could create another corps command here. Okay. Yeah, it's sort of here. We're sort of getting money, but it is not fully developed. It's one of those bit more wishful thinking type situations. We'll give him our island sort of garrison command. Right now all I have is, what is that? PvP Gaming 47. It's just Black Ice for Hearts of Iron 4 is what we're playing with. No other mods. And we do have an expeditionary force out here, so we can sort of kind of see what's going on and help out a little bit. Soviet surrender. Yes, there was a Black Ice for Hearts of Iron 3, most assuredly. And that is fun. Or is going in favor, 55% in favor of the aggressor, however they're figuring that out. 41%. Don't know, looks like it's doing better there. Italy isn't doing so well in the in North Africa. But Germany is rampaging across the Soviet Union. And then come up that way. Yes, at least fighting a war. Yeah, you're right about that. Japan got the victory disease, as they ended up calling it. But they were sort of realistic in the sense that they knew that they couldn't rule over everything. You're right about the, I don't know if extinction, but they're definitely, the Han Chinese are the dominant Chinese, whatever one thinks of as Chinese. It really depends, you know, especially if you talk to a mainlander Chinese nowadays, the way they're educated to believe in China. It really is a I'm trying to think of the right words to say without trying to be too offensive. Is really a Han dominated very rabid nationalism within China. You know, they feel that Tibet is inherently, because this is what they've been sort of taught. Hey, Mateo, good to see you're back. You know, that Tibet is inherently a core part of China, which, if you look at it historically, it's never been. I don't even think it was really part of any Mongolian Empire. And so they really, you know, they really look at things like that, and whether Manchuria should or shouldn't be independent, they just think it's all part of China. And really, if you look at, you know, because China, the word comes from the, you know, the Qin Empire, Emperor Qin or whatever. So you're looking at it that way. It's really sort of sort of as if the Roman Empire never fell in China, and you know, in Europe, you know, if the Roman Empire had never fallen, we would be seeing a very different Europe. And the Chinese have this very very strong sense that you can't divide China into, you know, like Manchuria and the different provinces. But there's a bunch of other cultures that are, I don't know, and obviously what the idea of a race is changing as our understandings of genetics change. But there are other cultural groups that are rather different from the Han Chinese, but they're closer to the Han Chinese than, say, European or African culture. I don't want to make them out to being something, you know, completely alien, but they are different, and they're being squashed. And I think it's more of a cultural than a, you know, Nazi genetic kind of thing. You know, it's a cultural imperialism that China is, the Chinese government is doing in there. So, you know, that's how I see it, at least. Okay, we're going to speak to our industrial leaders, yes, because we want more factories. How are we doing with our testing the Soviets? 5 days left to test the Soviets. How are our forces here doing? Okay, you guys keep moving up here. Let's save this. Yes, of course, Lord, about testing the Soviets. Very interesting, Soviet. China has this. Recently, I was watching someone who was basically being interviewed about German generals, but he also talked about his or a few other. Say, I think mainly Americans dealing with the Chinese military. The Chinese military, I think it's primarily the army, is still focused on the Opium Wars and their loss in the Opium Wars. It seems to be a hugely important element to them, more so, I think, than the Japanese War of Conquest over China. They still see the, as they see it, humiliation of the Opium Wars by barbarians, as they see it, and it still massively affects them to this day in their view. I'm just, because it's not necessarily, well, I guess when you call yourself the Middle Kingdom, with sort of the idea that you're in the middle between heaven and the rest of earth, that you're sort of setting yourself out as special and different than the rest of the world. It is a bit of an arrogant viewpoint, and you don't necessarily deal well with finding out that, in a power sense, you're not that above that. Matteo, I don't quite get what gives the production of planes. Well, our current plane production here is what we're doing here. Sorry if I'm not getting the question as correct as it should be. These are our zeros. And we're still producing lots of infantry equipment. How are we doing for infantry equipment needs? We'll see about the command points. I don't know. Okay, yeah, we have plenty of infantry equipment. So, more than, well, not more than we could use, but, so let's cut back by one of these. There we go. Which will free up some factories to operate for anti-aircraft guns and such. And we have more than enough oil, so let's come over here and cancel our Soviet oil. Because if we do go to war with them, you know, I really like talking to people with the viewpoints and learning from them. You say only 2 countries. Well, wouldn't you call Taiwan a Han Chinese country as well? That's what I would consider it. But again, I know there was an indigenous population. No, trust me, Soviet. I really like learning from others. It's one of the great pleasures of doing live shows like this. So, yeah. Oh, okay. You're right. It used to be the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. And at first the UN was recognizing the Republic of China, and then because of, since it couldn't recognize both, and the People's Republic was a much more important country, it recognized the People's Republic and didn't recognize the Republic of China as the legitimate government of China. Now, of course, the Taiwanese Republic, you're right, isn't recognized by the UN, and China is currently blocking recognition on the Security Council, but I would still say it's a country. Well, at first, Django, it wasn't a situation of recognizing Taiwan. They both, one claimed to be the People's Republic of China, the other the Republic of China. They both claimed to be the government of all of China. It was just this one controlled this little bit and 1 or 2 little teeny islands off here, which they still control. And the other one controlled the greater, the mainland China. But they both claimed to be the same, ruling over the same government in just a state of civil war. Now, Taiwan claims to be an independent country. China is vehemently against that idea, and that is most assuredly true. Now, back on Django's question about generals. Let's see if we have any that we can improve with our command points. And the answer is maybe. Okay, I guess Logistics Wizard is one we can get. That's good. We'll take that. Okay, let's continue this. Okay, Where did that go? Okay, window of opportunity. Oh, did that somehow just... Okay, escalate the incident. We need a division against the border of Vladivostok. Okay, that looks like there. Okay. Okay, we have, or we can do remove, escalate the incident. No, we're going to see about going for this, but I want to read Soviet. Don't know if it's the capital or the capital may be some other location out here. Yeah, I don't know if the 7th Fleet would come back to the Straits and protect Taiwan at this time. I do think the current Taiwanese Navy is capable of defending Taiwan at the moment. Now that doesn't mean it's going to last that way forever, and China is trying to change it. Okay. It appears that the Soviets are not backing down from the conflict. At this point, we must either escalate to an armed confrontation or back down ourselves. Okay. Fully control the Empire of Japan. Okay, which will remove window of opportunity. The Strait starts a border war between escalate the conflict. Okay, we're going to try this out. And now that we did that, we can okay, so we're in a border war here. So let's sort of play this out. This is interesting. Are we able to move other places? What is... No. Okay, these guys are all coming down to this general to help out here. Escalate the conflict. Yeah, well, I don't know if we have time enough, but we will certainly escalate this conflict. We are tying up a lot of Soviet divisions over here simply by being on their border with all these guys. Signal company, yay. Okay, border conflicts. This is something new to me. We have some border conflicts going on. Japan gets victory at Lake Kassam. Okay, this is really interesting. I'm going to have to look into this for modding in the future. Okay, where are our current expeditionary forces? Let's advance there. Let's advance there. And where is our other division. Where are you? Oh, where are you? Oh, down here. Okay. Just wondered where you were. Oh, we need to research because we got radio reconnaissance. I'm having more logistic problems, so we're going to improve our logistics companies. Oh yes, oh yes. This is a goes back to our talk before we started making the episode about the AI and whether the AI is a decent combat AI. Not just is it challenging or is it good versus, you know, some brilliant human AI. It's just, is it any good at all? Hey, or Azeds, trying to get that. No YouTube video? Well, I put an announcement video out. People not seeing it? Okay. Okay, we should be doing some new and better. We'll get... Ooh. 25 days, 25 days. Yeah, let's go with a better one. Ah, well, that's because YouTube is up to its games. Yes, you're right, Mateo. Well, we want to do the Navy fighters first. Though the Army are definitely on the list to do. Well, it looks like we're winning this so-called border battle. Still not quite sure how it's all working, though. You can see our organization is down there now. Okay, well, we can move a few more units down there. Well... This is fascinating. Okay, pause this. 2 additional arms factories, that's what we want to do. And following clash between the Soviets and Japanese forces on the border area around Lake Consand, the Soviet forces are reportedly in full retreat. The Japanese units have occupied a number of strategic hills around the area and begun to fortify their positions. During the battle, the Japanese captured a number of Soviet tanks, which have been shipped to Tokyo for evaluation. We have settled this matter honorably. Okay, now end conflict. I don't want to end the conflict. And we now have... Okay, we are building artillery like crazy. Recon radios. We need recon radios. So let's build some recon radios. Recon radios, okay. Let's get that into production. Yeah, it seems like they may be, but they may be a bit too late. And sending forces there, I'm sure, is the best idea at this time, because, well, maybe it is, because maybe they know they're going to lose here in the west, and trying to save something in the east is their best bet. Keep pushing there. The Germans seem to be doing all right. Hello, Arno. Good to see you. Now, I was hoping we would go get a proper war with the Soviets out of that. I guess not. And let's look at our other airplane situation. We got our carrier torpedo bombers at least improving. We got our A6 M1s. We could punch to that, but it's awfully early. Or we can do some army fighters, heavy fighters. We do that. The Nakajima. Is the Nakajima KI-44 a good option here? Or do we want to skip over and do that? Probably. That would probably be better for a day more. Or do we want to go all the way to the 84? Yeah, but we can, or do we want to go to the 61 here? Probably a better. I'm, you know, not terribly familiar with Japanese fighter models. $73 days, 43 plane. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, we're gonna stop these guys and we're gonna send them back. I don't want to over concentrate my forces for supply reasons as well as possible offensive reasons. Yeah, we have more factories available. Very good. And we have new models here. Our current close air support types is this. No, this is a carrier base. Yeah, we could just add that to the production. Okay, and we need more oil. Hi IKB, not that long. Maybe a total of an hour, but I was playing some War Thunder earlier. Let's grab another 8 from Peru to keep it something. Thanks for the very kind words, Soviet. From many sources, documentaries, I love watching stuff. I've read lots, books, magazine articles. I'm old enough to actually have learned some of the stuff in school before they stopped teaching all of this stuff in the modern education system. So it's a mix of things. Obviously we focus a lot on the YouTube channel on World War II, but I study the vast history of vast human history, very much with a European-centric viewpoint and focus. But whether it's back in college courses of comparative culture courses that talk about other Arabic and Chinese and other cultures, to just wanting to read about other things. Way back in high school, I took 3 years of Japanese language courses, which also had a good dose of culture and history in that. So I look more than just Europe, but that is where I know the best. But I'm really thanks for the really nice compliment. I'll be online for hours, so you can tell him whenever he gets here is cool. Not planning on going away anytime soon. Thanks, Arnaud. They stopped teaching history, I don't know when, but some time ago. And I'm not really joking about that. When I was going to elementary school, I remember them teaching history, and history started mostly around the 1770s in America. That's when history started, and so they were teaching American history, but sort of at its independence. Now most history, or my understanding, and I'm not a teacher, and I'm not sitting in a lot of classes, and that's like I'm talking in elementary school. Now a lot of history, if you look at the history books, again, I'm not an expert at it, a lot of the stuff they start talking about history in the post-Civil War, American Civil War, so 1860s and beyond, and they're really trying to remove history from and discredit history from current American people. Get into something here. Thomas Jefferson, he is the writer of the Declaration of Independence, one of the greatest the greatest documents in world history, and he wrote it, and it was definitely, there's some editings by it. And people want to discredit that document and discredit him because he owned slaves. How can, he believe, all men are equal and all this stuff? Well, you want to know something? He wanted to get rid of his slaves. He wanted to free his slaves. He inherited most of his slaves. I'm not saying, and I don't have any records, and I don't know if anybody has any detailed records, whether he bought any slaves within his lifetime, but he inherited most of his slaves. Now, he was from Virginia, and if you could not free your slaves if you were in debt, because they were property. So they would take those slaves and sell them off to somebody else to pay your debt. And since the way business often works, he was in debt very much, and especially during the leading up to, if you look at some of the stuff, the activities he was doing leading up to the American War of Independence, and during the American War of Independence, he gives so much money and support to the cause of independence that he is, you know, in a sense rich in that he has lots of property, and he does have an income coming in so he can dress himself and live a proper gentleman's life, but he is in debt through this whole process, so he can't just free his slaves. They will be owned by somebody else, and that isn't his purpose. So he is a person trapped by his situation. So they want to discredit him because of the time and place that he lived. So, you know, what do? Do you try to ruin yourself? I mean, you can look at Oskar Schindler and somebody like that. You know, should he have got all of his slaves, put them on a boat, and try to send them somewhere once America was independent? Because before America's independent, Britain has slavery, all the other colonial empires have slavery, so there is nowhere that he could send his slaves that would be free. But okay, after independence, maybe he could send them up to Canada and then be ruined financially and personally. That probably would have been the most righteous thing to do. But so now my understanding is he frees them on his death, which he can, and not be encumbered by the debt situation. So they're trying to discredit these people and not trying to, you know, so American founders believed in slavery. Well, yeah. Now, of course, Benjamin Franklin also founded the first abolitionist society in North America. So the founders, and there were definitely some southern founders, you know, in the southern states that were very pro-slavery, but they want to try to discredit these people. So this is why they stopped teaching history. Sorry, I'm going to now scroll back up the... Well, actually, let's end this episode here. Not the chat, not the live streamers. Keep hanging loose, but this is just for the YouTube people that'll be watching later. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube and follow over on Twitch. And I love hearing your comments, questions, corrections, because I'm sure I get something wrong here. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.